Good evening. Uh, my name is Asif Aleem. I'm Alexander's father. And I would like to welcome all of you tonight for a celebration of marriage between Alexander and Taylor. So please sit down. We have a couple of presentations that we'd like to make tonight. So have a seat. The bar is going to be open continuously from now till about 11 p.m. And we have appetizers that are being passed and a station there as well. So please free to help yourself during the presentation.
Alexander and Taylor to come and sit.
Okay, where's Alexander? So the first event for this evening is the what's called the auntie dance. Now, in the Indian culture, all of Christine's friends are Alexander and Taylor's aunties, related or not. So Preeti auntie will introduce the auntie dance.
Hello, everybody. I'm Preeti Auntie, and I've known Alexander for many, many, many years, and Taylor for a few. So this is a surprise for both of you. The aunties are going to perform, and we are going to perform to a medley of 3 songs tonight. The first one talks about Taylor going to her new home. So she has a mother-in-law, a brother-in-law, a sister-in-law, and Asif, you're at work, because they don't talk about you, you're at work. And then we move on to the second, and everything is beautiful in her new home. It's like a marigold, which is a traditional Indian flower that's used in weddings. So she's in this beautiful place in her new home. The second song talks about her being in love with Alexander. The new bride is madly in love with her new husband. And then the last dance is all the aunties and the uncles are here to take you away to your new home. So we've all come to take you, and that's going to happen tomorrow, but we're going to talk about it today. So all the aunties that are dancing tonight, please come on the floor, and we'll get on with our program.
छोड़ा बाबुल का ना भावे डेरा पिया दिल वाले दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे ले जाएंगे दिल वाले दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे अरे रह जाएंगे पैसे वाले देखते रह जाएंगे दिल वाले दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे
Good job. It's now my turn to say a few words about Alexander and Taylor. And you know, I had this whole speech prepared, and I was driving on Wednesday night. We were driving from Atlanta to St. Louis, and Christine asked me. She said, "You know, do you have your speech prepared?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I did." And she said to me, "You can't brag about your son at all." And I'm like, my whole speech was going to be a brag session about my son. So like, how am I going to brag about my son? Anything I say about him is going to be bragging. So I'm sorry, I can't brag about you. So I'll keep it rather short. Alexander, the doctor, and Alexander, my son. So Westminster, near perfect SAT score, Johns Hopkins, WashU, Jefferson. That's not bragging. The graduation ceremony was awesome. We had a golf tournament, and we were sitting in the cart with me and Alexander and Dr. Wright and McDonald, the other one. It was raining, and it was just kind of, we were waiting for the rain to go away so we could start playing golf. And Dr. Wright looked at me and he said, "Dr. Aleem, let me tell you something," and this is not me bragging, that's him bragging. He said, "Your son is a great doctor." And at that moment, I was almost choking back my tears to say, "Thank you, sir." So I want to take this opportunity to thank the friends and family at WashU to help this young man become a great surgeon that he's destined to be. Now, my son, Alexander, a very quiet, reserved man, a very passionate, intense human being. And he meets this beautiful young woman, Taylor, who is also intense and very passionate and loves him almost ferociously. So be careful around her. If you ever cross Alexander, when she's with him, she'll literally take your eyes out. I can guarantee that. But she's going to stand beside him, encourage him, and I think the two of them will have a wonderful life. And as your parents, you know, we will continue to be your cheerleaders and look forward to all the wonderful things that the two of you will experience. So that's all I have to say. Thank you. Now it's Mom's turn, and I'll introduce Mom's song. So there is a famous Hindi song by Lata Mangeshkar. Lata Mangeshkar is, actually she's in the Guinness Book of Records. An Indian soloist who has sung some beautiful Indian melodies. And this is a song about a mother and her newborn infant. And the mother is holding the child and saying that, you know, you're my sun, my star, and my moon. And then it goes on and on and on to different stages of life. In the end, she says, and one day you will fly away in the sky. And people will look at you and say, you know, who's that? And very proudly the mom will say, that is my son. So this is Christine's song.
I'm Cecily Campbell. I am Alexander's sister. My husband Will and I are very excited to be here tonight, and we want to say thank you to both families for including us in this celebration. I'm Alexander's younger sister, and if you asked Alexander to describe his life before I was born, I think he'd describe some sort of idyllic nirvana, very peaceful, lots of puzzles, you know. And then if you asked him to describe it after I was born, probably use like, you know, it was just like a zombie apocalypse, disaster zone. I constantly tormented my brother. I bit him, I kicked him. I followed him around all the time, I annoyed him. And when I wasn't doing that, I was trying to convince my parents that he needed to get in trouble. So, but Alexander was, you know, he was patient, and he waited until high school to exact his revenge and made sure that I never got a date. So thanks. But I think now I'm happy to say that he's back in his nirvana, and he has been ever since he met Taylor. And so Taylor, I'm just unbelievably happy that my brother found you and picked you to be his partner in life, in all the good things, the bad things, the mundane things, everything. I couldn't have chosen a better person for him. And I'm so overjoyed that the two of you are going to start your life together. Your love makes my brother a stronger and a better person. So thank you for that. And I'm just going to end with congrats. And here's to you and those who wish you well. And those who don't can go to hell. That's all right. There's some Seinfeld in there. Who's next? Oh, there you go. There you are.
Good job, little sister. I guess a couple of grooms would like to speak, so I would like to invite Ira to say a few words.
Okay, so as part of the deal here, I get to focus on the earlier years so that anything after the age of 18 is not my responsibility, and I can't confirm or deny any of those things. If this is confusing for some of you, part of it may be that, and by the way, Taylor, first of all, this is totally hands-off for you, so you're in neutral zone here. We're not going to even touch you in this, so enjoy that and take a deep breath. This may be confusing for some of you because depending on what alias he was going under when you knew him, Alex, Alexander, Aleem, not Alexander and Aleem, but just Aleem, Dr. Aleem, maybe some of his ortho residents may have called him Bra at some point. It's a little confusing. I'm going to stick with Aleem, and forgive me if that's confusing for you. One of the things that Alex and I share is that we both made the interesting decision in life to go into medicine. There's some things about that for those of you guys that aren't in that world, are a little bit detailed to go through totally, but just as an orthopedic surgeon, there's a certain stereotype that brings about. You could call it the Uberman or Uberwoman. You could call it the Val Kilmer in Top Gun. There's a lot of ways you could think of this, but Iceman is sort of how we're going to think about this for a second, and just how manly this man is that you're about to find in your home. Some examples from this timeline, just to give you a sense of what you're in for. The first thing that I remember when I met Alex in 7th grade was that there were 2 ferocious life-size lions at the front doors of his home. This wasn't Narnia, this is 2790 Ridgewood Road in Atlanta. And then if that wasn't enough to intimidate, when you got inside, you saw not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but an annual picture of this manly specimen in front of you every single year of his life on what I called the Wall of Fame. I assume by now it's probably a 5x6 or so grid that shows you every single year in sequence. Some years you really don't want to see if you haven't seen it yet. But the lions were only the start, because then there were actual real life-size ferocious canines that came to meet you. All of these could fit individually inside a small shoebox as toy poodles. And so they had ferocious names, for sure. Victor. And my favorite was Rock. And Candy. And Aleem's personal favorite, Tiffany. Or Tiffy. And the most important thing, and Cecily kind of ruined this in some ways because her 25 girls broke our rule here, but there were no girls allowed parties starting in 7th grade onwards at the Aleem household. And as 7th graders, it was okay because it was kind of like cootie patrol, trying to prevent sort of that element from being involved in very manly activities like firing bottle rockets into the home instead of away from the home. And this didn't happen in Georgia, of course, because those are illegal there, but we won't get into that tonight. They evolved a little bit over time so that by the time we were 18, now these 18-year-old, still boys, of course, were now just sober playing Mortal Kombat 3 while the cool kids were at Spencer Gordon's house doing other things. Sorry if you don't know Spencer. I should probably stop now. So, through all the distant cities that we've been apart, revolving directions in life, the multiple Range Rovers, you've always been one of the easiest of my friends. And Taylor, someday we will invite you to the No Girls Allowed parties. I'm already starting.
So the text message 2 days ago did not say anything about standing in front of everyone, horrified. And I say horrified not because I'm afraid of standing in front of people, because I lecture to undergrads for a living. I say horrified because I don't want to disappoint Mama Aleem. So if that happens, someone cough loudly or like just give me something. Ira's terrified of the toy poodles. I'm terrified of Mama Aleem. Okay, so when you're nervous, sometimes they tell you to like key in on particular words. So I thought I would think about words that described Alexander. Right, and so the first one that popped into my mind was that the Alexander is very classy. Right, and like some people are nodding, right? Like the Aleems are classy folk. Alexander is a classy person. You may have had like some interaction or a conversation where you're like, all right, that dude's classy. I know this because it was one of the very first things you told me about yourself when we met. As 12-year-old boys. So a little bit of backstory on this one. As Alexander's aunt and Ira's mom were so kind to remind me, I was about yay tall. But thankfully, in 6th grade, there was one kid who was about yay tall. So the only guy shorter than me. So naturally, you would think we would be best friends. No. Mortal enemies. Yeah, when you're that low on the totem pole, both literally and figuratively, when the stakes are that low, you have to fight the hardest. So I don't know why I remember this, but in gym class, you probably don't even remember this. We were in gym class, and I was just like ranting about how much I hated this kid. Just vitriol. Oh yeah. Chip down. Yeah. Just vitriol and like venom. And Alexander just stone-faced, nothing. And I was like, man, Alexander, I thought we were friends. Like, are you going to join in on this rant? And Alexander, no, Steven, I'm not. And I was crestfallen. I was like, Alexander, why aren't you going to join me? Stephen, because I have class. Which in retrospect was kind of a strange thing for a 12-year-old boy to say to another 12-year-old boy in sixth grade, but like having known you for even longer now, it makes a lot of sense. More seriously though, the word that came to mind when I was thinking about the Aleem family, and now that I've come to know the Duncan family as well a little bit more, was welcoming. So when I got to my new high school, or junior high at the time, in sixth grade, Alexander was my official, like, capital B buddy. And did you volunteer, or did Mama Aleem make you? I'd like to think that you volunteered, just out of the yeah. That's the lie I've been telling myself for however many years. Anyway, so Alexander was my buddy. So the very first time I met you, I think you and your family invited me and your friends over to your house for a party, and I felt just kind of total warmth and welcome from this awesome group of people. The second time I came over to your house, your sister cursed at me, and the third time I came over to your house, their Rottweiler. I don't know why you were afraid of the poodles. I was afraid of the GD Rottweiler. It was about like, yay, wazonkas, and like wanted to kill you. I was afraid of Fritzy. So that was time number 3. Time number 1 was good, 2 not so good, 3 not so good. But time number 4 being with you until now has been fantastic. And I say that I got to feel the same welcoming warmth from the Duncan family because the very first time I met them was them inviting me as a total stranger and my wife as a total stranger into their house. So it is no surprise to me that y'all have found each other, and I wish nothing but the best and much love to you both. So cheers.
Hi everyone, I'm Sridhar. I'm one of Alex's friends from med school, so sort of building off Ira, I'm responsible for the maybe after 22 years of his life. So I've known him for nearly about 10 years, and we met. Actually, one of my first memories of Alex was probably like just a couple blocks right over there. I remember, and one of the things I want to talk about is some characteristics of him that I really like, and one of that is he's really determined. And so one of the first memories that I have of meeting Alex is we were on this bar crawl, and we started, over at the dorm right over there, and there were probably like 40, 50 people from our orientation class here, and Alex was leading the pack because he was just so determined to accomplish the tasks that he had, that the bar crawl had set out, and I was right there with him, and so that's sort of where we bonded first. We both really liked wearing polo shirts, and that was a really big thing. But we were both very determined because we had an agenda and we wanted to accomplish it, and so I think that's a really nice quality about Alex. But another thing that came up, so we've known each other for a long time, and thinking back to when we first met. Again, building off of what Iris said, another nickname to add to that list is probably Alejandro, because when we first got here, those of you who knew him from childhood, knew his family and everything like that. But when we first met him, we didn't get to know anyone else, and no one would believe that he's an Indian guy, right? I think none of us in med school really did, and we all thought, oh, he's not Indian. But then he told us that he was, and we're not quite sure. But then we met his family, and his family is amazing. And then we're just, oh, this totally makes sense. It all fits. And his family, I've probably seen now since I met Alex more times than I've seen my own parents. And every single time they've invited us to come and stay with them, and it's been really nice the times that we've gotten to see them. But sort of moving on, another characteristic about Alex is that he's a very responsible guy. He's the type of guy who will show up to work every day, never take any sort of vacation, and just always be there. When we were in second year of med school, he was a socials chair for our group, and one of the things that he and our friend James over there organized was this float trip. And they did a really great job. They got the whole class together, and everyone out there floating down the river. We all had a wonderful time. And the next day, I know he got called into the dean's office to talk to the dean, because apparently some guy had taken it upon himself to just meet up a bunch of other people and gotten lost. And Alex was the type of person who was going to make sure that he took responsibility for that and made sure everyone was okay. He's also a very dependable guy. When I first met my wife was after I was really good friends with Alex already, and we had our first date at a Starbucks just around the corner over here. And about halfway through, maybe about like an hour into it or so, she's like, "Isn't that one of your friends back there?" And so somehow Alex had found out, he had like walked by and seen us in there, and was like, oh, I know that what's going on there, and I have to insinuate myself. So he parked himself close enough to where he was behind me that I couldn't see him, but he could hear everything that was going on. So he's a very dependable and a very loyal friend in that way. He's always going to be there for me, whether I want him there or not. As my wife and I got to know each other better, Alex and I really bonded a lot over watching football, especially college football. Back when, I'm a University of Texas fan, and they used to be good at football. And Georgia's always been good, so that's a positive. But we used to always watch football together. And as more people came into our lives, both Suki and later Taylor, we continued watching football. And we would just sit there and we would watch in the exact same positions on the couch, and add one person sleeping over there and another person sitting on that side of the couch. Of course, always eating like an extra large, extra cheese pizza at all opportunities. It was pretty important. As I mentioned earlier, his family is very important to him. And I remember the first time, there was a time about 2 years ago that we had dinner together, and we hadn't seen each other for about 4 weeks, and that was like wildly unusual because, we're the type of people who, we couples match together here at WashU. There was definitely probably as much or more excitement from Alex when I matched here as there was from my wife. And so I remember the time that we hadn't seen each other forever, and his whole life had changed. He changed what he was going to do with fellowship. He was going to do something totally different. And then he's like, oh, and I met this girl, right? Or there's this girl that I got to know, and that turned out to be Taylor, and we got to meet her and get to know her over time. And, she's been an amazing part to his life, and, she totally fits in with, I think, everything about him. And clearly he's much happier, he's a much better person, he's a better friend, like sort of better in every single way since getting to know you. And so, I wish you guys the best of lives together, and I hope, and I know that we still will be a part of it, and, that's really all I have to say.
So I'm Sarah, and this is Caitlin, and we're bridesmaids as well as really good friends with Taylor. We met Taylor in college, and after many nights at Copper Beach, Harpo's, random bars of downtown St. Louis, we quickly named ourselves the 3 best friends that anyone could have.
So we're going to kind of keep this short and sweet, but honestly, we couldn't be happier for you two. It's very clear how much you adore each other and how much fun you have together. Taylor and I kind of do the long-distance relationship. She's in Philly and I'm in Dallas, so every time I talk to her, it's just, how's Alexander? And she's just so happy and so in love. You can tell what a difference, their relationship has made. And so we're really excited, really happy. I know we've always talked about our weddings, and yours is finally here, like you're getting married tomorrow. So
We're very excited.
yes, yeah. So we love you both. Congratulations, and we're excited to be part of your day. So
We don't have glasses, but cheers.
cheers, yeah.
Well, thank you all. So I know you guys are probably getting ready for dinner. So we're going to do something really kind of weird. So Christine and I are going to do a Bombay-style dance, which will be very badly performed. and there's 2 reasons to do this. The number 1 reason is to thoroughly embarrass my children in public. That is the number 1 reason. The second reason is that this is a song sung by an oldish male serenading his young wife, saying that you're gorgeous and I still got it. So here goes.
आशिक जाविदा ओ सनम मैं तेरा आशिक जाविदा ऐ मेरी सोहबत भी तुझे मालूम नहीं तू अभी तक है हंसी और मैं जवान तुझ पे कुर्बान मेरी जान ऐ मेरी सोहबत भी तुझे मालूम नहीं तू अभी तक है हंसी और मैं जवान तुझ पे कुर्बान मेरी जान
Dinner is served.